Well, meanwhile, in North Mississippi, a 25-year-old Baldwin man has now been charged with felony fleeing and manslaughter following a pursuit that killed a state trooper Friday. Authorities say Master Sergeant Steve Hood's car left the highway and hit a tree. Eyewitness statements apparently led to the arrest of William Francis. Francis allegedly led authorities on a high-speed chase in a car modified for racing after driving westbound on Mississippi Highway 370. Authorities say Sergeant Hood saw the vehicle as he traveled eastbound and pursued it. Moving now to the local political front, just one day for municipal elections, and there is now controversy in Newton's mayoral race after a letter was mailed to residents across the city asking white residents to vote for the white mayoral candidate. Both candidates are now asking residents to ignore the letter and vote for the person most qualified. Democrat David Carr and Independent Robert Moore are both disgusted by this letter signed by a concerned citizen. The letter accuses black residents of paying people to vote and says if David Carr isn't elected, Newton will become a ghost town. Carr says he didn't send the letter, nor would any of his supporters. Moore says the same of his supporters. Both candidates are asking residents to look past what they call a distraction. Now to an update on the accident that claimed 2 lives Monday afternoon. The names of the people involved in that fatal crash on Interstate I-20 has now been released. The Mississippi Highway Patrol said 52-year-old Janine Hodgen of Greensboro, North Carolina, and 56-year-old Wilman Green of Indiantown, Florida, died when the RV they were riding in blew a tire and crashed into a tree near Chunky. The driver, 50-year-old Kenneth Green, remains hospitalized in Jackson. Green is a professional golfer who played on the PGA Tour during the 1980s and recorded 5 wins. We are finding that each year thousands of Americans fall head over heels for their computers. Literally, the number of computer-related injuries has been climbing. ABC's Dr. Timothy Johnson has more in this morning's Medical Minute. Well, we want to thank you for watching Good Morning Meridian. And coming up, we will have that story and more. But first, Stephen is here with a look at weather, and it was such a beautiful day yesterday.
Yeah.
Can we expect the same today?
I think so.
3 young people are dead and another injured today after gunmen opened fire. Good morning. I'm Tametria Conner. Topping our news this morning, Meridian police are continuing to search for a suspect involved in a shooting which occurred last night. That made me hungry. What about you?
It always makes me hungry.
I want a Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit.
Oh, don't even. I love some Chick-fil-A chicken biscuits.
Turning to weather,
Yeah.
what can we expect today? Hopefully sunshine, right?
More of the same, I think.
The support was evident today as people lined the streets along the processional route to pay their respects to their leader for the last time and to remember the life of Springfield Mayor Tim Davlin.
A final realization that he is not the mayor any longer.
Great guy. The city's going to miss him.
As his body passed along the streets of the city he served, Springfield's residents, supporters, and friends of Mayor Tim Davlin pay their final respects.
And that's the real hard part for all of us.
He loved the city. The city loved him.
From the church to the heart of Springfield, flowing in front of City Hall. Residents say the green carnations represent his spirit and personality.
All the carnations he's given out over the years, just a little bit back.
Making sure the family sees just how much the mayor was loved and appreciated.
A compassionate leader with a terrific sense of humor. That's what I'll remember.
As a friend.
Many miles riding the motorcycle together. Just had a lot of good time, you know. Just gonna miss him.
Made everybody in the room feel important.
Even after his body is laid to rest at Calvary Cemetery, many say the disbelief will still resonate.
It just hurts.
Still probably in the way. But we'll never know. So just remember all the fun we had and his smile.
Sorely, sorely missed.
Mourners say time will heal as the city tries to move forward. It was a very solemn moment for the city, but a time for people to come together and lift each other's spirit.
I'm live on Cook Street in Springfield, and this street was covered with snow earlier today, but salt trucks actually came and cleared most of the snow on roadways throughout the city. Now, the first day of this winter storm was downright brutal, and it was an ugly scene here earlier today, and those who had to travel tried to avoid accidents at all costs. But for some, that wasn't the case as this winter storm passed through.
Cold, very windy, a lot of split spots on the interstate.
That pretty much sums up the first day of the winter storm in central Illinois. Snowplowers clearing the snow and drivers traveling at slow speed, taking extra precaution during this ugly winter storm.
It's going to be like this all winter, I feel like.
It was pouring snow with high winds, and travel conditions were not favorable.
We were driving and slid off the ramp, and we just slid down into it, and we thought we were going to flip over, but we just landed in an angle like that.
They were stuck in a ditch off of Interstate 55 near the 6th Street exit. The teens were not hurt, just a little shook up.
It was so scary.
Rick Smith with Capital Towing had to pull the car out.
This is my 8th one today.
Within a matter of only a few hours, and Smith expects that number to double by nightfall.
But yeah, especially as the night gets colder, the wind starts picking up and you can't see as well.
Motorists say driving the speed limit is not a good idea.
Don't try and drive the speed limit if it's too bad, because it's a full-on blizzard out there.
Trying to stay safe on the road while gearing up for what Mother Nature has in store this winter season.
Still carry now! Still carry now!
The message is clear.
I hope that we get the right to carry.
Supporters say the state is closer than ever to seeing that happen. Groups such as the Women of Igold of Illinois and the Rifle Association hand-delivered letters to Governor Quinn's office demanding he support House Bill 148.
Self-defense is a basic human right, and that right is being respected all across this nation, but it's not respected here in the state of Illinois.
There's an old saying, if you outlaw guns, only the outlaws will have guns.
Opponents say the concern is not owning a gun, but carrying it on the streets. Representative Mary Flowers is one of 2 lawmakers against this bill.
Concealed carry has not been proven to make you any safer.
Concealed weapons is not the only issue at hand. Some gun owners are concerned their identities may be exposed.
The decision to make the names of registered gun owners public is up in the air. The Attorney General's office wants to make that public, but the Illinois State Police want to keep it private. Now, these supporters were willing to show me their identification cards, but that may not be the case for everyone.
It's like putting a sign on the front of your house saying, I don't have a gun or I do have a gun, and nobody needs to know.
Pushing to keep a lock on their identity while fighting for their right to carry a gun. Crews have been working around the clock since Sunday night, repairing about 20 broken main water lines throughout the city. From downtown to State and Fayette Avenue, near Cornelia Powell's house, she says the entire block was without water for several hours, a first in her 27 years of living in this house.
And I know on both sides of the street, I got calls.
She says aging pipes have been a problem for years, and complaints to the city has resulted in Powell having to replace them herself.
And we called the city, and they came out and checked it, and they said, well, your water line's crumbling. It's disintegrating, and we only are responsible to go up to the sidewalk.
The main water line broke inside the basement of the Horace Mann building on Jefferson Street early Thursday morning. Workers say when they shut the valve off, it broke.
We had a lot of water. We lost power, we lost phone lines, and we lost internet connection.
Office was not open that day and is now operating with a critical staff size.
Water's going on, then it's going off, so our restrooms are open, then they're not open, they're testing.
Now they're replacing the 6-inch valve that has been slowly deteriorating, and workers say that's the case for most of the main water lines throughout the city, and the cold temperatures aren't helping the situation.